Hi, Peter. Firstly, thank you for joining us today and for taking part in this video series we're putting together looking at AI agents and agentic AI. So welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure, Trevor.
Always a pleasure for us as well. Let's tee this up then. So the thought process behind these discussions that we're having with our expert partners is that since ChatGPT, I mean, AI has been around for ages. I mean, you and I have spoken about it many times. Since ChatGPT landed, suddenly everyone's talking about AI, and it's kind of helped it become more accessible. 2025 seems to be the year for AI agents and agentic AI. And a lot that I've read, seen, that tends to be discussed at events or webinars is often focused on how it's changing the way travelers might book or find hotels, trips, or it's also being looked at from a perspective of how hotels might be using AI agents and then eventually agentic AI to help improve their efficiencies. But what we hadn't seen is a lot discussed about its impact on the existing hotel tech landscape and the providers like you guys. So that's the angle we really wanted to take when looking at this topic. And we wanted to start off by coming at it from two directions, i.e., what are the opportunities that this presents to hotel tech providers? And then maybe what are the threats that come with any new technology that you guys are watching out for or maybe asking the question of. So let's start with the positives, because I'm a positive kind of chap. So AI agents and agentic AI, what opportunities do you feel this technology brings to hotel tech providers?
Well, I think that first of all, it's an enhancement on what we're currently experiencing. Like you said, with the whole when AI came in, we have been able to sort of adjust our way of working within hotels and already embracing it in maybe things we don't even know about, but it's there in either systems or things that we purchase from vendors. But of course, when it becomes this agentic part, when it actually will help us and making decisions based on patterns that have been sort of been put into a black box, that whenever you speak to AI or AI agentic vendors or providers, they speak about this black box that is not really clear for us to understand what is happening.
Indeed.
But the opportunities that we see, like, basically on operational parts is, in the first stages so far, I mean, like these guest journeys, right? Your proactive service behavior. You have these operational smart resources, where you can predict things when happening in maintenance, that sort of stuff. And then the pricing has been, the RMS systems have been under a lot of changes over the last couple of years, where you have these legacy systems that are based on, input from yourself with rates and barriers and that sort of stuff. And we had this project for a smaller boutique hotel 5-6 years ago in the middle of in Brussels, where we had implemented an RMS that didn't look at any competitive rates. It only looked at transactional levels. So you would really easy to start with as well. So you would sort of say, okay, I have 100 rooms. These are my minimum rates. These are my maximum rates, and anything in between goes. And it wouldn't look at any other integrations, like looking at what is happening on the market, what is happening with your competition, just looking at how many reservations have been converted for May 6th and for June 18th. And based on those transactions, it would then actually, capture booking activity and then go with the rates. And that one was, in the beginning, you were able to override and put the system on free flow, so it would just go and make changes. And in the beginning, you're like, oh, I'm not going to go let it free flow, because what's going to happen? You have all these pitfalls, like, will it make the right decisions? And the company and especially also the support that were with us, that were helping us, said at a certain time, really just let it go, and let the system after a couple of months of trying out. And we did. And I must say it made recommendations based on indeed it was AI, but also I think already this black box that was in there that they couldn't explain to us either. That they were really phenomenal. They were in a way that we said, oh, we would never push the rates that high for that particular date. So we adapted with these ones fairly quickly. And I think that was also a step up in having confidence in these not so legacy RMS systems, but really flexible, easy to use, easy to install, and not so expensive at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've looked, just if I flip the coin, we go from heads to tails, from positives to negatives, or from opportunities to threats. I've got a couple of threats. It might be my own chat AI hallucinating here when you hear the questions, but I'll pose them to you in a minute. But before I get into my point, I'd just like to get your thoughts. Any new technology that comes along, as we said, presents opportunities and threats. What do you see as the perceived threats to existing hotel tech providers from these AI agents and then ultimately agentic AI?
Yeah, I mean, as we are really into sort of the revenue management systems, and I don't think there's a lot of threats in that part, because in a way, okay, the threats are maybe if your data isn't accurate enough, you would have, if your data is not clean enough, you could have some challenges there. But I think in the broader scope, there is this loss of human touch and guest trust. I think at a certain time, if you would sort of get going with AI or agentic AI, taking not over, but really impacting your way of working, how you actually would, have your check-ins optimize, or would you, it's again, I was looking at this hotel that we worked for, and nothing to do with M&E, but really for this smaller hotel with these 100 rooms in historical city center that was performing super well, and it was with a lot of people that had like on the floor when you check in. They had a self check-in, but there was like this buzz, people helping each other and so forth. And it was actually then purchased by somebody else, and they sort of turned it into a hotel with everything self check-in, everything sort of AI controlled, well, maybe not agentic AI, but a lot of AI controlled stuff. And their review scores, so it's been, I think, 6 months now or so, and I was following the review scores just out of curiosity, and the review scores really, really were under pressure from, having a good experience as a guest journey to sort of, I don't get it. And one of the reviews I read recently, it literally said, you will need to read the directions to get self check-in. If any issues, you have to check. And what seems like AI, they literally said that in the review. So
really,
yeah, and that was a bit of an eye opener as well, or eye opener. I would say, if that's on a review already, you should really be careful that whatever you do, it should be still. I mean, we're a people-to-people business, right?
That should be the unique thing that means we can't be out of business, isn't it? We can't have AI coming and replacing us, is the fact that we are a people business.
Exactly. So I think that was like a literal, like a threat that was given by a guest having experience, and really putting that on paper. And obviously that is one that you read.
Yeah.
How many others are out there, not even, putting it down in paper. So I think that human factor is, I think that's a threat. And also that, staff is losing its, awareness of problem solving and skills to do due to automation, because, everything is sort of done for them. And I think that's also a pity, because, if something goes wrong, a personal touch can make a lot of things for the better.
Yep.
And I think so the whole human factor, I think that is a quite a threat when it comes to, or the missing of the human factor is quite a threat.
That's an interesting angle. We've had a few conversations, obviously, with our other partners, and that's the first time that's been highlighted in these conversations. So yeah,
Okay.
it's no, but you it's a very valid point. And I know recently we contributed into a white paper with High Jiffy where they were talking, went out yesterday, talking about the balance between the human and AI. And it's a very credible question. I don't think people have a problem with self-check-in.
No.
Or let's say they don't have a problem with not having to walk up and queue at a desk to check in.
Exactly.
But having people a buzz in a reception, I think it depends on your market as well. If you're a business traveler, you've just landed at 9 o'clock, you've got out the taxi, you just want to check into your room, fine, you might want to be able to do it on your phone and just go. But maybe if you're traveling on holiday, you're a bit more relaxed, engaging with someone that welcomes you, makes you feel valued. They may have their iPad and check you in quickly, and there's a few of them moving around so that you're not standing in a queue. It's horses for courses, isn't it? But I think you're right about it being a human business, and the threat there is about losing that human side. One of the questions I wanted to pose to you is, and again, no one knows the answer to this, so you can say what you like, and we'll revisit later on as if you're right or wrong or whatever. But I wonder if you guys deal with data all the time, and you mentioned this in one of your earlier when you were talking about opportunities here about if you can manage your data properly. I look at the major groups and the very large management companies. They will understand the value of their data, and it doesn't seem a massive leap from my perspective for them to turn around and say, okay, let's actually make sure we're using a piece of technology, that we have a consolidated, clean, structured data platform. But then we either start investing in companies, or we acquire talent and we bring them in to our data team and our AI team, and we will build our own AI agents that that maybe replicates some of that SaaS technology that they've subscribed to before. And so I wonder if we'll start to see a potential divide between the major brands and management companies doing a lot more of this in-house, and maybe the third-party technology providers then end up focusing more on the smaller group or independent hotels, and less at the enterprise end as they take it on themselves. But as I say, it could be just me hallucinating. What's your thought around that?
I fully agree. I mean, what we saw in the past already, I mean, the major groups, they've made their own PMSs, they've, even when they were on other normal legacy systems, or even like regular PMSs, they've created at a certain time their own PMS, because they want to control all of what's happening within their structure, and it's the same with or not with everybody, but I think that there's a big push forward now. I mean, I just read this article on Skift. I think both Hilton and Marriott are sort of, they're runners up now for the AI challenge. Who is going to be first and who's going to be best? And logically, because there's a lot out there. I mean, they have loyalty programs that go through the roof. Absolutely. So they have a lot
data of available to them is insane.
That is massive. I mean, they can use that for any guest journey. They can use that for any sort of branding, what to do and how to do it. So I think in that respect, you wonder sometimes, would they need an external, because they have so much from themselves. They have resources. They have people also wanting to work for these, big names that would really make a difference. So I do believe, and I wouldn't be surprised if they would do that internally, and then just, because they have the resources, get some of the early companies that are out there, or the specialists working for this company, and hire them to help them to get going. I think the worrying part, maybe not. I think there is maybe a minor risk as well, because they have so much data out there. Is that data all in order? Is that how much of it can be 100% used, and in which way? But what I do believe is that they will have a roadmap for these things, which, if I would be running such a big company or a big brand, I would do the same. Um, and that roadmap can be, acquire a couple of these talents or a couple of these companies, and then, it just goes within their own, because they want to put their stamp on it one way or another, because they're such big brands, right?
Yep.
And on the other hand, I think so they have that advantage. They have the scale, they have the money, they have the resources, and they have the data. Um, but I do believe as well, because there's so much out there, that even for the smaller groups, independent hotels, they would also be, I mean, they have a lot of possibilities as well. It's not mega expensive as, in the past when you had to do some things that were improving either your data structure or your PMS system. It was costing most of the times quite some money. Now there's alternatives. There is, smaller companies out there that could also help you with your AI-powered information that you would like to do, and focus also on the niche part of, when you're a smaller independent hotel, you don't need everything, right? I mean, like a big brand, they would need everything because they have multiple countries, multiple brands, multiple loyalty programs. Well, as your smaller group or an independent hotel, it's in a way not as complex than the others.
That makes sense.
So from both sides, I think there's a lot of opportunities without them being sort of, oh, one is going to be a winner and the other one is going to be losing out. As long, I think, if you have a plan, I think for both, you would have to have like a tech stack plan, even more now. And that includes then, trying out piloting. I think that's what we always say, right? I mean, the piloting, it all starts with that one, and then pilot with a part that you feel that where you don't have like a problem, but that you think like, oh, we can optimize that one. Not start with, oh, there, I've got a big problem with, I don't know, say loyalty. I'm going to be starting my whole AI and AI agentic problem with that one, because the risk of that one maybe going a bit sour on you is higher than if you would like to sort of emphasize on water consumption in your hotel rooms or so. That's less impactful than the others.
No, that's good points. That's good points. And taking another step beyond that, then. So, and these don't necessarily need to be linked, but we've seen some consolidation, acquisition over the last few months, end of last year, beginning of this. There'll obviously be new players will come into this space, and I've got a question around that in a moment as well. But if the focus is on if we just look at the landscape as it exists today, all the PMS, RMS, CRM, yada, yada, yada. If we're seeing groups may start to move that way, there's going to be a need for some tech providers to obviously want to respond to that. So I'm wondering whether we will see a greater consolidation where we kind of pivot, where we kind of congregate around maybe half a dozen core platforms that almost become data platforms that have acquired other companies that they then build in. So they kind of go to these enterprise solutions and say, well, here you go. We have the data platform. We've got these different solutions that you can bolt on as you need. And whether we will start to see some of the companies that exist at the moment. I mean, if you're acquired, maybe that was the aim in the first place anyhow. But sometimes if that acquisition process goes along, or others could become obsolete along the way, I'd be interested to see how you see the shape of the hotel tech landscape evolving over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think indeed that most of the single purpose tools like, chatbots or legacy systems with lack of real-time updates, they are more likely to become obsolete than, the end-to-end platforms with easy integrations. I think we've talked about integrations, I don't know, like hundreds of times already. And if you have the big players where you are sort of easy to get all your data, or the whole journey of your not only your hotel part, but also your financial part, your M&E part even. I mean, if you can consolidate that all into one big platform, where all that data is aggregated, first of all, it's easier than to get any sort of AI or agentic AI in there and let that just, have fun with all the endpoints it can find. The key for that one, I think, and that is moving already now. You can see that, there's hospitality platforms, big companies that were very not easy to work with in the past. They have made switches in order to be, easy to do business with, easy to integrate with, easy also to make changes to. And that flexibility, that will be key for these, the current big players to grow. And I think that the smaller ones, maybe well, I wouldn't say they become obsolete completely, because there's always going to be, smaller hotels not having to need everything. But the big players, what we talk about, I think that will be indeed a couple of big players, which makes sense. We don't have 20 Googles, do we now? I mean, and I think that will become the same with these data providers or data integration systems that give you this typical one-stop shop thing that you can work with and have everything under one roof, so to say.
No,
I'm convinced.
I'm glad it's not just me thinking that way anyhow.
I think it would be a pity if they wouldn't do it, because I mean, this is the moment. If you are, if you're a leader, you would go for it. And then there's a couple of leaders out there. They have a clear vision now. You can tell.
You can see that.
You can tell. Yeah, you see that coming. Yeah.
Okay, so we've looked at how the hotel groups may respond with this technology. We've looked at how the existing hotel tech providers might respond to this. The final potential threat I want to get your viewpoint on is those that currently don't play in the hotel industry. I mean, we've got some examples where there's a bit of a crossover. So, I mean, from a sales and marketing perspective, some people will be using Salesforce, HubSpot, these kind of solutions that are kind of generic solutions. But I'm also aware of other companies, just through people that I know in consultancies and just watching what's going on, that are building a platform and building agents that will go in and take on some of these operational functions as well. And I'm wondering, I mean, they will look at the industry, I'm sure. I wonder how easy it would be for a new player without knowledge of the hotel sector and not in a discipline vertical like sales or marketing to come in and enter the hotel market. What's your thought on that side?
Yeah, I think it's well, with every industry there comes some specialism, and I think the hotel industry as such, I mean, it's not more complex than any other. In a way, maybe it's even easier, but there's a lot of factors and there's a lot of human work in there, and a lot of human relationships also with with customers. I think that part of the the whole hotel circle, that's going to be tough, I think, to get something out there that would help sales and marketing to get going in a different way. I mean, like you mentioned before, I think there is indeed some potential, or maybe great potential, when searching for new things out there, that you could do it through ChatGPT or any AI tool. But the sales and marketing part itself, I think it's going to be, I don't know how that will. Yeah, and then again, I'm not a specialist when it comes to agentic AI. In a way, why wouldn't it be? Because we've seen so many things happening over the last couple of years, and there must be some sort of clever algorithm that could help you at a certain time with it as well. Maybe it comes after a lot of integrations has been done on of these, either the big hotel companies or the big tech companies that have smart things go, because in a way already like Salesforce and all these are already partially integrated in most of these companies anyway, right? They're using it as a tool.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see how that is evolving. What I do believe is that smaller sales and marketing companies out there now, if they are smart and they have good people working with them, they could, and they're creative, they could come with some interesting solutions as well, no?
Yeah.
That we haven't thought of,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an old man, so
you and me both.
and yeah, and I think it's super interesting to see how younger generations and young smart people can come up with stuff that you think, seriously, well done.
Yeah.
Never thought of, well done, you, hats off,
That's a very good point. Very good point. You've mentioned this word a couple of times, data.
Really?
funny that. One of the things I guess we've looked at the threat, the opportunities and threats. I guess one of the things I want to just pivot across to a little bit now is in terms of if we were considering, putting myself in a hotelier's shoes. Let's say I have investors, I have owners, they've read this, we're having our regular meetings, they're telling me we need to be embracing these AI agents. For me, it's a bit around the hype as opposed to then the actual reality of being able to do something with it. And because these require data to function and operate, and to not hallucinate, that data needs to be structured and clean in a particular way. I mean, you're dealing with this all the time. There's a couple of other things around data I want to get your views on, but just what are some of the constraints? If a hotelier came to you and said, oh, I want to be bringing these AI agents in, what are some of the problems you see exist in hotels at the moment that they would potentially have with the way that they handle their data currently?
Yeah, I think there's a twofold. I mean, first of all, like you said, you have to be, there's like this data readiness in a way. That's one thing. You would have to make like a serious audit, and not like serious in time, but serious in quality of the data that you are currently in control of, or that you would like to base your things on. And at the same time, there's also the culture about this data. I mean, so there's also, I mean, if somebody comes to you and say like, oh yeah, I want to do this AI and this agentic AI, but if then 80% of your workforce is like, I couldn't care less, I think that you need those two, the data and the involvement also of the people that are actually going to work with it. That has to be hand in hand. That's one. And what we're doing ourselves is that you do make like I said before, like a roadmap or like a plan of what you have now, sort of. What is the first thing that you would like to be doing, or what is a priority, and what would you need? What sort of resources would you need without going, all crazy and the base of the data that you use as a first would really be the best, or the most qualified data that you would have, and then at the same time really audit the rest. Like, is everything that we've put into our PMSs or wherever you base it on, is that accurate enough? Because otherwise, I mean, it's a bit the same with any sort of analysis that you make, crap in is crap out. So and we've seen that sometimes when you are a hotel or an event place that has been existing for quite some time, you have a lot of old data. Sometimes it's best to only take, like, for a shorter term, to say, the last couple of years or whatever. And new hotels, they have the advantage because they can start from zero.
Fresh,
and for them, I would really say, I mean, if it's a new hotel, I would say immediately start with some sort of AI involvement. Have somebody help you with it in whatever shape or form, because if you start from a day one, so to say, you're gonna be ahead of the class.
Yeah, no, that makes sense
for sure. Yeah.
When thinking of data, compliance, California
Yes.
has it. GDPR, we obviously, you and
Yeah.
I will be familiar with, being in the
Yeah.
UK and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself, I mean, to your point, you just said you've got hotels that maybe been in existence for a while. They could have old data. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
compliance is a massive issue. How that is
Yeah.
being done, how that's being dealt
Indeed.
with. How do you see hotels tackling that challenge?
I think that is, well, if you look at data readiness, that part, the compliance and the challenges with regulations like GDPR is very, not difficult. I think it's going to be very tedious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you want, especially, I think that the big companies out there, like the big hotel groups, I think they're covered because of their loyalty programs. They have, especially the US ones,
Yeah.
they have so many things built in there. I think it's more for the smaller groups and independent hotels that you have to be careful
Mm-hmm.
what to do
Yep.
with this data, and also to what extent. What do you need? I mean, there's in guest profiles, there's a lot of stuff in there sometimes that guests would fill out. But do you really need it,
Yeah.
all of it? I
Yeah.
mean, if you would need that this guest always takes a glass of red wine at his dinner, fine. I don't think he could care less when that is shared. Is it other stuff, like when it becomes to credit card usage or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
Mm, you know, I think that's something to be very careful. Whenever it comes to service related things, we'll be good to go. When it comes to more technical, personal, and financial transactions, there I think it's going to be well, you need good guidance,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
think there's some good points there.
Yeah.
Final point around the data, and the one I always think, as systems become more sophisticated, or as new technology comes on, or as we look to bolt things into what we already
Mhm.
do, for me, yes, we need to do that. That's progress.
Mhm.
But it also opens up a potential weakness in a system that has been operating and that we have already got established. So, data security, i.e., people wanting to get access to our data, if we're suddenly structuring and putting it in a structured format, and I don't know, is structured data easier to get to than unstructured data? If we're building an AI agent to go in and look at our data and interrogate it, does that provide a potential weakness? I guess the choosing the appropriate solution provider who's going to write this agent for it. There seems
Mhm.
a number of what if questions that could run out of
Yeah.
this that sit around that data security piece. What's your take on it?
Yeah. I think, yeah, that is that's a very valid point. And I think the you need to know what you want to do with any sort of AI agent up front, first of all. And the security part of it is, I must say, it's not my forte, first of
No,
all,
no.
because, but but I think that if you look at what is out there currently, and if they would go into, see all the aspects of what is out there in our data, the the fact that whatever they want to take and use in order to give the right recommendation, um, there should be some good guidance and some good things out there to, or at least for yourself, a good plan to say, this is what I actually need out of it, instead of, just let it run and see whatever comes out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there, I think the specialism of having AI agents that have a background of hospitality would be an advantage, because you would sort of know, or expect that they would know what you could get out of it,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just, you have, I would call them the development nerds. And I mean,
Sure.
and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and those are good people,
Yeah.
and I've worked with them on several things, also with external companies that helped us with some AI solutions. But they think in mathematical, logical things. They sort well, logically, they don't get the bigger picture sometimes, and it's that guidance actually that is, I think, also a very tricky part in order to, well, get out whatever you want to get out and explain. There's a lot of terminology within, the hotel industry that should be explained and taught to these AI agents in order to get, information that we really want to get out, instead of just, the granular things that they sometimes look at when it comes to AI.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Okay, I'm gonna put you in a scenario here. I'm gonna teleport you into a room.
All right.
There's like 20 hoteliers there. They're all sitting there having to starting early
Ooh.
thoughts about their budgets
Ah.
for next year.
Mm.
Because kind of this time is when we start to project out into
Yes.
2026. Now,
Yeah.
the media, event organizers, naturally, they
Mm-hmm.
want to
Yeah.
be focusing on what the latest trend is. So they're going to be
Logically.
looking at, and talking and discussing about this newest shiny tech that promises the world will solve all the problem. But for
Mm.
hoteliers, as well as for some, it can be exciting, interesting. For others, it could cause confusion. For a large number, it could probably be a wanted or unwanted distraction.
Could be.
But where my concern is that does it create a degree of hesitation when they're
Mm.
thinking about budgets for technology investment for 2026?
Mm.
Does it create an element of doubt? Do they wait to see how this technology develops? Do they start exploring different avenues when there may already
Mm.
be solutions in place? It does muddy the
Mm.
water a little bit. And so,
Mm.
without, and I know you never come onto these and do a blatant sales pitch, so I know I don't need to worry about that. But if you were just advising them more generally, what should they
Mm.
be considering?
Mm.
How should they be, evaluating, or what are some of the questions they should maybe be asking themselves
Mm.
as they're starting to put together their budgets for 2026?
Mm.
What would you be saying to these hoteliers?
We touched upon it a bit earlier already. I think, first of all, I would encourage them to do so. I mean, this is the future. We would not. I mean, whatever you do is good. Don't say we don't need it, because I think that's, you would be losing out for sure. But I think the first part we said is that they would need to look at their data readiness and the culture within their hotel to see, have an evaluation of that one.
Yep.
And really look at, where am I for the moment, what are we looking at, also when it comes to people, how are they looking at it within my culture at the hotel itself. And then I would definitely advise them to make a budget aside, put some money aside for it, and advise them to have, pilot some modular AI tools. There's lots of things out there that you can, and if there's a high threshold for some of them to engage, go for a simple one. But first take the AI, not I wouldn't dive into AI agents immediately, but just the regular AI tools that are out there
Yep.
to help you, and go with that one. Pilot them, because they're super easy to integrate. They are very flexible in their piloting. If the ones that I've spoken to, they're all, they're most of them are young, fast growing, or not fast growing, but young companies and they're eager to tap into all sorts of industries. So if you start with piloting and modular AI tools, in, say for the whole of 2026, if you combine it with your data readiness and your culture, you have 1 year of good piloting and exploring. And then a year later, and maybe this can be changed obviously when things are changing, but I would say then take that for a year, because in hotels we're not that fast with these sort of stuff, because we still have our customers out there, and other things, the whole operational part, and then explore the agentic part along the way. And I think there's maybe some AI tools that you use. You could switch early to the agentic part, because, like, I'm really happy with this one, my data looks good, and get on with it. and I would really emphasize on having at least a project leader for that. You know, not just have it like a GM that says, "Oh, yeah, I'll do it on the side every Wednesday afternoon. I'll have a look." No, take it seriously. I really think you should take these things super seriously because it's out there. It's helpful. It is the future. I mean, this is me being an old man saying that, but no, but I really believe that
this toothpaste isn't going back in the bottle.
yeah, and I mean, I had a couple of workshops with it, and the way it works, you know, I did some minor tests. It is mind blowing. And why would you leave out on something that is out there in a very tangible, easy to grasp way, low threshold in a way? Why would you leave that out? Because you would say, "Oh no, I don't believe in it." Well, I think you would be losing out.
Yeah.
So definitely.
I couldn't have put it any better. I knew it was good to get you guys involved in this conversation. You always have some very good, very strong, insightful points to make. But I think what also is that, and it shows you have a hotelier's background as well, because you think about the staff, you think about the adoption, you think about how people are going to lean into this, how it can help them, but what some of the barriers to that might be. But I agree with you 100%. You know, this isn't going away. It's really how quickly you get on board with it, who leads it, as you said, pilot it, try things. You know, be prepared to throw them away because it's reasonably cost effective to at least be able to start. And if you're not sure, then go and get educated, go and learn. As you said, there's various workshops out there that people will explain things to you. Or just reach out, you know, if it's around meetings and events and revenue management in that space, reach out to guys like yourself. You've always been there to help advise. Doesn't have to be just a sales lead. You know, if someone needs to ask a question, you've always been happy to jump on and advise.
Yeah, and I think also the good thing is we would be able to get like a whole sort of new people into the industry that we haven't had before, right? I mean, this is other companies out there that would enrich us as an industry that we, you know, haven't been working with forever. So, I mean, that would only benefit us in both ways, for them and for us.
And also when we look at staffing issues and retention issues going forward, you know, if they're looking at every other company is talking about AI and working with AI, and they come into a hotel for an interview and they ask about AI, and the GM or whatever is, well, no, we don't. We're looking at it, but we're not.
We don't do AI.
Hardly. You know, I get we're kind of a bit of contradiction because we are a people business as well, but they kind of want those tools. They want to feel that people are moving with the time and that that's a company to join or be part of. So I think there is some advantages apart from the obvious as well.
Yeah, indeed. Definitely on the long term.
Absolutely. Look, appreciate your time. Conscious you're very busy, but thank you for joining us.